Ka pai, well, no mai, raro mai. Before we get into it, we'll start with a karakia to clear our morning. Wairea kirunga, wairea kiraro, kia mau te rongo, kia mau te wairua, kia ngā wari te hā, kia au mārire, ngā mahi, kia putaki te whaiau, ki te ao marama, whano hara mai te toke, haumie, huie, tai kie. Nau mai raro mai e ngā tini o te ata, nau mai e te whitinga o te rā ki runga i a tātou katoa, mō atarau ki a tātou ko tai mai. He kuratangi hia, he mai aroha ki ngā mate o te wā, haere mai, haere. Welcome back to everyone who have come back and experienced Practice Foundations in the past. But to our taringa and karohi tapu, any newcomers who have just joined in on our Practice Foundation, we welcome you with open arms to our 2025 Practice Foundation series. Who am I? My name's Lily, heuria hau no roto mai o muri whenua, o te taitokero, te nōti nōta, e ai ki wetehi from the far north, based in Kaitaia. For those that have been here, I'll be your host today on behalf of Practice Foundation to provide a space for those working in the public sector who are working in the complex environments to come together within like-minded people. So, e mihi ana kia koutou katoa. I acknowledge that it is a difficult time for many people and would like to encourage and support everyone to take good care of themselves and each other for the rest of this journey of Practice Foundation and our series today. We hope you find coming together for today's session and ongoing sessions handy. We also have Kelly. We have our hapai o in the back. If they want to wave or let you know who they are. We've got Kelly, Mong, our hapai o, Lee Ryan, and Penny Hagan working their magic in the background. If you have any questions at all or any issues that you'd like to mention, just shoulder tap them or message them if you need any help with anything. Bye. We also have our manuhiri amongst us. A few manuhiri, we've got a special mention to Jackie Chan. Those that have done mahi with Jackie Chan has joined us for Practice Foundation, our team, and we'll be doing an illustration for our 2025 series. Jackie will share a sneak peek of her mahi at the end of today's session, and the final illustration will be published with today's recording in 2 weeks' time. So you'll get to see Jackie with all her magic that she'll do with the ringa toi, but beautiful mahi e hoa. Our rhythm today will look like this. What we'll do is just a brief acknowledgement to everyone that's joined in today for the session. But our Practice Foundation is to provide a space for those working in the public sector who are working in the complex environments. We also, the rhythm today is that we heard from many of you and learned through our Practice Foundation that Hautū Waka is a valuable tool in supporting us to address and navigate the complex issues within the public sector. So what we've done is we're going to tap more into Hautū Waka mahi. With this in mind, we're excited to launch the 2025 Practice Foundation series with a return to Hautū Waka, led by Roimata Taniwha-Paoo, Heuri no Waikato, Maniapoto, and Pirongia. The session will focus on the Te Whiwhinga phase of Hautū Waka. In this phase, tohu are clear and the course has been set to move towards the collective vision. We can see a way forward and are confident in our knowledge and direction, but there is a lot of mahi to be done in this part of Te Whiwhinga. This continues our pipi dive or pipi shuffle for those that like to do the different, whether you've got your time correct, but the pipi dive or the pipi shuffle of Hautū Waka, building on our previous sessions in 2022, 23, and 24. These can all be found on the Practice Foundation YouTube channel on Lab website. So what is it going to look like today? So together we're going to, within the 90-minute session, we will do whakawhanaunga with our small breakout groups, hear from Roimata, who will help us tune into the 2025 and learn more about Te Whiwhinga and some practices that will support us to navigate this year. go back into breakout groups for some reflection time, and then come back together as a whole group to kōrero and wānanga on the things that we've heard and seen with Roimata. So that's what it's going to look like today. What I'm going to ask you now, so before we've got Lee will put us into our breakout groups for around about 10 minutes. One thing that we're going to do is when we go into our breakout groups, we're going to introduce ourselves, and then there's a pātai that I want to put forward to everyone. The pātai will be, can you share something that you've found inspiring recently? So that's our pātai for everyone. Have a whakaro. Have a whakaro about that. Think about the things that you've found inspiring recently. Now what we'll do is Lee is going to put everyone into your breakout groups. Enjoy, get to know each other and break the ice. Go for gold. Tēnā koutou. Nau mai hoki mai ki tā tātou whārangi matua. Welcome back to our main forum. Here's hoping that everyone enjoyed their time getting to know each other, whakawhanaunga. What we're going to go into now is we're going to introduce our next kōrero. Our next kōrero is Roimata Taniwha-Paoo. Tēnā koe e hoa, kora rau mai koe, ki tā tātou kaupapa. Roimata Taniwha-Paoo is a he uri, he Ngāti Apakura ki te whare puhunga, te kaukauro pāta tere, Ngāti Mahuta, Ngāti Maniapoto, he te rara wanoki, and born and raised in Otara. Mama to 4, but has a household of whāngai tamariki. Passion for Indigenous practice methodology, avid watcher of taiao, can often be found on a west coast beach chasing aurora, or somewhere facing east in the morning, waiting to see the colours of the sky before the sun rises. So, e mihi ana ki a koe e Roimata, mau tēnei wahanga hei kōrero, ka tuku te rā koe kōrero ki a koe. Tēnā koe Roimata.
Tēnā koe riri ki o nei whakamahu ki mai ki au. E mihi ana ki a koutou, kore rau mai ki raro i ngā tauwhirotanga o tēnei wā, e mihi ana ki te kaupapa o te rangi nei. Nā hoki ko he uri tēnei no Hautū Waka, ko Roimata Taniwha-Paoo tōku ingoa. My name is Roimata. Welcome back. I think this might be the 5th session that we've done with Hautū Waka. Let me just share my screen. Did you see me pause for that bit? And all right, we're good to go. Te pai tata ki reira? What are you guys saying? Saying the right thing? Goodbye. So this is our 5th session, maybe 6th session of Hautū Waka, and we'll be journeying inside of Te Whiwhinga. So if you aren't familiar with the phasings, then please go back and review the kōrero on the Co-Design Lab or even on YouTube. Just jump on Google, chuck in Hautū Waka, and then me. And then you click on one of those links and you're good to go. So, Kala Matua is here. Here we go. Here's our phasings. I'm not going to go through that because we are sitting inside of this space now. Now, last year we spoke about Te Whiwhinga, and in particular we looked at Te Whiwhinga being looking for guiding markers, individual markers inside of taiao. We also attributed that into the system, and then we triangulated tohu that we saw, and then tried to figure out what are these separate tohu leading toward as a collective piece. And then inside of Te Whiwhinga, the whakaro is from there, is that you go ahead, you've already had a look at the collective piece that is coming together, and then you go ahead and do the work, which is where we are now. Now, for this to help us drop into what does Te Whiwhinga look like, we're going to talk about this. He matatini o te Whiwhinga, an amazing event that happened last week. I was forced to go, and I had to go because my kids were performing. So I was amongst the plethora of whānau that came back just a lot more darker, but I wore my sunscreen, so I didn't come back as red as I thought I would. So, Te Matatini o te Whiwhinga is a kapahaka cultural event that is held every second year that is, it brings together all of the leading kapahaka rōpū inside of each region. Now, this is also a space where you don't know what you're going to get on stage. You can be guaranteed that there will be people that are challenging the government. You can guarantee that there will be people challenging social norms. Now, we're going to have a look at Angitu. Angitu was one of the rōpū that I think they were on the third day. That boy at the back with the patu, that's Elias. He's one of our whāngai. He also led the haka, which he didn't tell me. So Angitu, they stood on the atamira and they challenged social norms. Now, how they challenged that was Pere, who Pere openly refers to himself as he whakawahine, took on kaitata ki tāne role. So again, one challenge inside of the social norm. Then we have te piki kōtuku o Ngāti Rongomai. The piki kōtuku o Ngāti Rongomai, they got a little bit more political than what they usually do, and they called this haka tangi weto winitana. Winston Peters, you cry baby. And so that's a pretty blatant stub at him. And then they incorporated the kupu, mau mau tō 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 Māori, mau mau tō 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 Māori. So you've got some pretty bold as statements. Then you've got a politician on the stage leading his kapa, but his kapa really only stood so that they could get other people from their regions through. Now, how you get through to Matatini is you stand in your different rohe, and however many rōpū are in your rohe that stand, that's how many, it determines how many you can send through. Now, these guys, they were like, oh yeah, let's just have 2 practices, then we'll get up and we'll have a bit of fun, and we're not going to make it through. Little did they know, when you man your group with people that have done kapahaka for years and have done matatinis more than 4 times, there's no way you're not going to make it in. Even though they weren't trying, they were blimmin' amazing, and they ended up standing at te matatini. Not once, but twice. Last one at te mātangi. So we've got our political heaps, not really being political, just standing for the fun of it. Then we have a legendary kaihaka in Papa Anaru, who is leading his kapa, te rōpū manutaki, mostly of rangatahi. My boys are in there. You can see their faces just at the back. I was really thankful for te rōpū manutaki because it took my boys and it gave me quiet weekends. Then we have a new kaihaka. Well, he's not new. He's been in this rōpū for a while, but he's a new kaitata ki tāne leading an old group. Now, I bring up Wirihana because he's my neighbour. He just lives over there. Again, didn't even know he was leading, but pretty amazing. Then we had some of the rōpū showcasing different styles of waiata. This is te rōpū kapahaka o Ngāti Whakakapi. They are the winners of this year's rōpū. Now their waiata, all of them were themed around World War II type-esque songs, and please go and watch them. The other little thing that I really liked about them is they crocheted poppies and then they put it onto their pari, and that was in honor of Kōrero, who was from their region, who is part of their whānau. So why are we even talking about te matatini? Well, when we think about te whiwhinga, here is a te whiwhinga. That motu, that is our matatini. So our matatini being where we want to get to, I can see it kind of a little bit clearly. There's still a little bit of haze around it, around how we're going to get there, if I'm even going to make the group. te haraini. But that is where we're heading to. Now, we're going to shift to a waka. Now, this waka, I'm going to call it manutaki. And I'm calling it manutaki because my boys are in there and I can speak to this. So, with te ropu manutaki, and on this waka, you'll have the kaihaka and the tutors and the kaitataki, so the leaders. These are the only people that you will see out the front. What you won't see are the people that are holding this waka together, the unseen forces, the current, the wind, all of that kind of stuff. So we're talking about the people that go and clean dishes, people that feed, grandparents that take the babies so that the parents can go and do kapahaka for the weekend, because we're not just talking about a one-time wonder type of wānanga. We're talking about almost 4 months of constant prep. The boys were in wānanga every week for 3 months. It was nice for me because I got a quiet house and I didn't have to pay so much money for food. But hey, when you've got grandparents, they end up taking the tamariki, and that's what we're talking about, the unseen forces. So you've got a whole community of people getting these kaihaka to the stage. Now, here's our waka manutaki heading toward the te matatini. But with them, we've got about 53 other waka on a similar journey with the same te rawinga being standing on their atamira at matatini, all heading toward the same space, all with the same goal, but the journey and the perspective and how they get there is different. Okay? Now, for the next, I want to have a look at, this is what Te Whiwhinga looks like, but we're going to take the perspective of us being at the te rawinga. So, inside of our narrative, when we take a look at this graphic, we are kahui maunga. We are the ones setting up the space. We're the ones preparing to receive and to bring on all of the waka journeying toward the matatini. Kei te pai? Now, when we think of that as being, we can say that I'm sitting at the te rawinga, but we're also the ones preparing the space. Te kahui maunga is preparing logistics. They are preparing kai. I know that they had waka up to 2 weeks, 3 weeks out, going to get kai moana, and they're restoring them in these massive spaces just so they could feed their maria, to feed their manuhiri coming on. We're only talking about the pohiri day. So here's kahui maunga. Inside of their space, they also having to consider, and they also have to consider the how they bring on external iwi into their spaces while being tuturu to themselves. One, they did it inside of the pohiri with their poi, and with their dress, and with their kōrero, also in how the pohiri was conducted, that kind of stuff. Then they also have to think about, this is my friend Net, when she went on stage, they introduced her as kaitataki, then she turns around, she's like, I'll just do a selfie. I'm like, thanks, Net, I'll take that photo. Just to show you the scale of crowds. So te kahui maunga have to take all of this stuff into consideration, whilst also thinking about how do you create spaces on the atamira where kaihaka and ropu have the freedom and safety to be explicit as they can be, to talk about the topics that sit top of mind to them, to society, to government, and to spaces. So that te kahui maunga are holding these plethora of things. Now, inside of that space, when we think about te matatini, it used to be just delivered to Māori for Māori. This year, and actually for the past few matatinis, they've been a lot more, they've been broadening their scope of engagement. For this matatini, this is my Auntie Arita. She's in the people. She was a translator. So if you had the Matatini app, you could log into the app and you could hear my auntie. And she was translating the kōrero, the script as she hears it for you. So that allowed other whānau that speak Pākehā to come and listen. Now, on the finals day, they had more translators in there to allow whānau more engagement. So they had Tonga, Cook Island, Samoa, Fiji, and then they had Matua Liru in there. He's a real Māori speaker. He's also he's from China. He's Mandarin speaking. So all of these translators, amazing people, come in, can understand Te Reo Māori and translate it into their own languages so that their people can hear as well. So again, broadening those scopes. This is all part of Te Kahui Maunga and Te Matatini Society creating spaces for engagement for a wide scale of whānau and making them feel safe in doing that. Now, when we think about us and our mihi, and when we think about te matatini is not created by people who have never done this before. They're not created by people who are first-timers. They might have first-timers there with them, but they are taina in the space, so they're learning into. When we, in our mihi, create spaces, we're creating them because we've been there before, or a similar space, or we have an idea of. We're not brand new into them. And the majority of whānau, people that are on this call or engage with this content, are people leaders in their spaces. Whether it's big teams or whether it's small teams, te haraini. But the question would be, just like Kahui Maunga, I'm sure they had to ponder something similar, how might we create those spaces that are ready and welcome, that are ready to welcome and bring in journeying waka, fully knowing that you might not be, or where you're at might not be the rawinga, it might be just part of that journey. But what does it look like to create spaces where those journeying waka can come in and be safe to do so? So for the next 5-7 minutes, we're going to put you into breakout rooms. Lee is going to send through the question to you guys in your chat and have a kōrero. Kapai? We ready to go on that one?
Kapai hoa, tēnā koe Roimata. Yep, so that's the pātai e homa. So we're going to get Lee to put you all into a breakout group for 15 minutes. So here's the pātai. How might we create spaces that are ready to welcome and bring in journeying waka? Kia ora, nau mai hoki mai. Nau mai hoki mai. Welcome back to our main page of Zoom. He's hoping again that you all had a wonderful time. Just wait to see if everyone's come back, and yes, everyone is back. Nau mai hoki mai. What we're going to do now, so welcome back, we're going to do a rain chat. For those that know what a rain chat is, we're going to take a minute to drop any thoughts or reflections, pātai, into the chat forum. So if you can go to the chat forum and start jotting down some pātai reflections, some thoughts, but don't push the send until I'll give you a countdown of 1, 2, 3. On the 3, then you're going to push enter. We're going to play some music in the background while you're reflecting on some of the kōrero that you've heard this morning. So go to the chat forum, add your whakaro, and Lee's just going to find the best waiata for us, and then we're going to jot those whakaaro down in the chat forum. If you don't know what the chat forum is, if you look down at the below where it says participants, chat, reaction, share screen, security, AO companion, maybe go into the chat part, add your whakaaro, your thoughts, your pātai, your reflections in there, and I'll give you a countdown. Tahi, rua. Wait, hold up, just wait. Toru, add your whakaaro.
Hey. Prepare the shoreline.
I'm going to go through some of the chats, some of the whakaaro, and have a look to see what everyone wants to
Melanie. Mihiana Brooke.
Kia ora, tēnā koe.
I'm gonna need to make my chat bigger.
Baruch, prepare the shoreline.
Some real tangible stuff in there from Gabby. Things like having physical stuff ready, making sure that your whānau are fed, food, drink available on arrival, respectful to everyone's backgrounds, e mihiana. Tanya Radford, I see that you spoke about some of the challenging solutions. Can you give a bit more context to that? Ha! Yeah, you. E kōrero.
Kia ora, Roimata. No, right at the end, we just sort of talked about how lots of us have travel bans and like reflecting on the last few years, how that's making it really hard to build whanaunga with different, communities or people that we're working with. And I shared some training that I did with Co-Creative, and they're from America, around how, even though it's so suboptimal to be doing stuff online, some tips and tricks you can do to create space for collaboration and whanaungatanga when you're doing it online, which is so much harder.
Yeah, I see a lot of kōrero around manaaki, whanaungatanga, Carla Matsua, kei reira koe, I did see you. Can you talk about some of the tangible stuff and what that looks like in your space and how that adequately helps prepare to bring people in? Are you there, Carla?
Ai, morena ihoa.
Where's your face?
Yeah, we just went through all the tangas and we thought that if we followed a process of pōwhiri, what does that look like? So there's that pre-planning, that preparation stage of their arrival, and then going through the formal part of welcome and finding those connection points. And then around, just the tangible stuff is in terms of kai and rest and what are their needs. How do you manaaki them through the early stages, and then through that space of one, and how do you find those common threads and identify their needs and aspirations, and then find those connection points, and then what's next after that stage.
Tēnā koe whakala.
Kia ora e wha.
Tēnā koe. I love the kōrero. I love your kōrero on that. It's awesome. Good to see you online too.
Robin Te Whata, Robin, I see that you've talked about creating a space that is safe, collecting qualitative data, or someone in your rōpū did that. Who was in your rōpū, and can you volunteer them?
Been them twice. My memory is bad in general, sorry. But she works for an organization, a government organization, and she was just speaking, coming from a lens of whānau are the experts, and whānau know what they're talking about. They have the experience to share with me, and I'm not the one holding the experience, so therefore I don't dictate what their experience is. That's what I gathered from her kōrero. Is she here? Do you want to speak for Karo? Apina.
Kia ora tātou. I work for Oranga Tamariki, and I, over the last 20 years, spend a lot of time engaging with whānau who have had their children taken into care. And so I've developed a set of takepu to support in those engagements to ensure that whānau are safe in that space. And it is those key takipu around manaakitanga, whanaungatanga, and being really tika and pono with what I do with that information. Yeah, so those types of key principles, really.
There was I went into Tipene funerals once after the loss of my sister-in-law, and in amongst that space, they're not a desired rawinga. You don't want to be there. You don't ever want to be there. But when you do get there, one thing they have on point is manaakitanga. The space is gorgeous. It's beautiful. The temperature is amazing, but they have anticipated all of your needs. If you need a phone charger, it's there. If you need kai, it's there. Like manaakitanga is on point. And that's the whole whakaaro around being and receiving the journeying whānau on their journey. That's when you become te kahui maunga, anticipating needs, pre-anticipating, but also being agile enough in your tikanga and in your whakaaro to move and be the hands that they need, right? He whakaaro anō hoki, Angie, can I get you to talk to some of the practices that you've seen in alleviating hard spaces and bringing people into that?
Well, kia ora tātou. It's much of what the whānau have already talked to, but just thinking about how do you curate the spaces that are safe and support curiosity and learning, especially at a time like this. And it's all of the things that people have talked about. It's doing your best to anticipate what some of the needs of the rōpū might be. It's doing your best to understand what the context that they're working in. And when for me, I'm thinking particularly of when we're collectivizing across systems with different rōpū or different individuals to support system change. But for me, it's all of the things that people have talked about. It's the care, it's the manaakitanga that you take to understand the needs and aspirations of those that are coming together to collectivise for change. It's trying to anticipate that and make sure those conditions are present. And the other thing is I've found to be really interesting is what's the invitation in? What are you asking people? What are you welcoming them to? And then when you're doing this work in complexity and innovation and learning, that almost has to be an open offering of support and tautoko, and as Maurice's just put, it's got to be a space where people can land in and feel there's an island of sanity to do a whole heap of stuff that they might not be able to do in the workplace or where they're at. So that's what I was thinking about.
Hana, Ange. Now, funny you mentioned the whai, Marisa, because you're next. I did see, can you please explain, just for a little bit, because we don't have much time left, the power of caucusing, islands of sanity? Ka tēnā?
We had a discussion around existing in systems or organisations and institutions where it might be flowing in another way, but you're wanting to see it move in a different direction, and that you really need to have, for the sake of well-being and it being effective, you really need those places where you don't have to explain yourself. You can come together, share experiences, revitalise probably. And we talked about kōkiri and how that formation, you really need, the point person has to regenerate. You can't be that point person forever. You need to rotate so that to be effective and that you can sustain the energy together. So moving as a collective, but having those places where you can come, you can land, and I guess other places that you can eventually generate that energy spreads over time. So there may not be islands eventually, that may be what creates change. So I guess the destination idea, it may be also that it's something that you experience together now rather than having to reach there, so that those islands are actually the destination that you're seeking as you're journeying, if that makes sense. Probably carried away.
And mihi ana, Marisa. And it's lovely to see you online. We will see you soon. A kanohi. Patatau urere.
Kia ora, nā, love everyone's thoughts and whakaaro on what that looks like for everyone. Everyone has their own interpretations of things, and it's good to hear that everyone has sort of tohu in their kōrero that they've dropped in the chat forum. So e mihi ana ki o koutou whakaaro, o koutou mātauranga me ki. So your lived experience is being shared amongst us here today. Ka pai. Have you got anything else to add to that, Roimata? Anything? No?
Me apa, me kōrero ke atu I taua o ngā kōrero. Thank you for your whakaaro, and also thinking about just how different this session was, because usually we're on the journey and we're on the waka. And so getting you to think about what it looks like bringing the waka in is a different stance of Te Whiwhinga. But we've already been on this journey kōrero for a little bit. So you should be able to orient yourself on the waka. But there is something really important to think about how we as people leaders, how you guys as people leaders alleviate the red tape and just create those spaces for your people to be awesome, for your people to have no bounds and to push limits. One of the things that my old boss used to say is, come to work every day prepared to be fired. And that wasn't a bad thing. It was like, you do everything that you can. And I knew that she had our back, that whatever we had to do in order to get the mahi done, she had our back. So it's that kind of kōrero. E mihi ana kia koutou. Whakahoki atu kia koe, Riri.
Ka pai. I think there's everyone has their own interpretations. My whakaaro is how do we prepare better? We talk about Hautū Waka and us being at the very beginning stage. And sometimes we have our thinking of, we've got everything in the waka ready to go in our Hautū Waka. Then we get to a place and it's like, we start to think about, actually we've forgotten this thing. How do we then pivot to make things work? And also questions come is when we arrive to that destination, what does that look like for us living together? And I think that's one of the things that I think Whakakapi brought up in your comments in the chat forum is like, how do we live together? What does a perfect whānau model look like? What does a perfect hapu model look like? And it's probably in the conversation at the moment with us and our team is what does a hapu model look like? If we've got everything set in stone and everything's, our whānau as well, that means our hapu as well. If our hapu as well, then our iwi as well. And that can be put into any context, whether it be marae, whether it be whānau, whether it be in our mahi. What also comes into mind is when we're seeing the tohu that we see, how do we interpret those tohu, or how do we read those tohu? What does that mean for us? And again, it comes to the interpretation of what you think. Sometimes the tohu may not come to you then and there of what those tohu mean, but eventually through lived experience, you'll understand, this thing means this thing. And then we can put those mātauranga, those kōrero tukuwiho into contexts of our mahi that we do on a daily. Just he whakaaro no āwaku. I just wanted to thank everyone for their time, and no doubt everyone's had a wonderful conversation this morning based on the kōrero that Roimata has shared with us today. He Whakakapi ake, so for us to maybe wrap up our session for this morning, I'm going to ask Jackie to share her mahi. So Jackie's completed an illustration which will be posted with today's recording in 2 weeks' time for you to download, use and share. The links will be included in the invite for the next month's session. All previous sessions on Hautū Waka can all be found on our YouTube channel on the lab website. But I'm going to invite Jackie.
It's just a work in progress, I might say, but starting to capture that sort of sense of ngā waka travelling towards Te Whiwhinga. I'm going to put the stage back in there as well. But yeah, thank you for letting me listen in on this really interesting conversation. Yeah, I will complete it and send it out to you in 2 weeks. Thanks a lot.
Tēnā koe, Jackie. Tēnā koe. Here's hoping everyone's got the access to see this beautiful image that Jackie's prepared today. It's been lovely working with Jackie on this kaupapa, and the feels of it is beautiful. So tēnā koe, te ringarehe, te ringa raupa, e mihi ana kia koe, Jackie. I'd like to invite everyone to share feedback on the session, on what you liked and what you didn't like, what was useful. Please put it in the chat forum now if you can. But yeah, e mihi ana, I can't thank you all enough for all the kōrero that you all shared, whakawhananga, tanga amongst us all this morning. It's been lovely to hear all the kōrero that everyone has shared. I know it's we're finishing off on a early note, but if anyone's got any other kōrero that they'd like to share before we close off our session for today, you all get let off early. Unless Ange, kōrero or Penny, anyone like to share anything before we close off?
Just a mihi to Roimata for her generous sharing as always, and really appreciate you, e hoa. Thank you so much.
Tēnā koe.
Kia ora.
Tēnā koe.
Ange, did you want to say anything about next month's session?
Yeah, we're just going to get into that.
Kia ora. Awesome. Thank you.
So our pānui, our New Practice Foundations would like to receive an email invites for the sessions. If you can please sign up to the CoLab for anyone that would like to sign up by email. What is it? Just a minute, sorry. Our pānui for today. If you'd like to, so again, if you'd like to jump in on our sessions, I'll hand it over to you, Penny, if you would like to share anything for the next lot of sessions, no?
For next month, Rudy, are you asking? This was asking if Ange wants to just quickly talk to that because she's been having chats with Sasha. Can you just give us a sneak peek into next month's session, Ange?
Sure can. I'm not sure if you're all aware of this amazing Māori academic named Sasha McMeeking, and if you're not, look her up. She's incredible. And she'll be coming online next month to be talking about complex causation, which is thinking about how are we able to evidence and articulate some of the outcomes that are achieved for whānau, where there might not necessarily be a direct line of sight from one indicator to the outcome. So we all know it's not that simple with te whānau. So she's going to talk about that from a te ao Māori point of view and some of the work that she's been doing. She developed te ara waiora, isn't it, Penny? So if you want to have a look at some of her work around outcomes from a te ao Māori perspective, you can look up te ara waiora, which is the Māori outcomes framework that Treasury was using not so long ago. So have a look at that. Yeah, and Trina, and she's really amazing. Kia ora.
Ngā mihi, Ange, tēnā koe I era kōrero. So next month, if everyone wants to jump back on, please, click into all the links following. Kelly will send out some kōrero as well leading up to the month for kōrero with Ange. So I mua tonu tā tātou a wehenga. It's good that we, before we break off, we finish off with the karakia. Ka pai, ke whakairihia te tapu ki a mātea ai te ara, ke turu ki whakatahai, ke turu ki whakatai, whano, hara mai te toki, haumi e, hui e, tai ki e. Kia pai te rai homa.